Hello grade 12 learners. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Today we will be dealing with business studies when it comes to what business sectors and their environment. It's a question that it's always in your examination. It's a question that they love to ask it when it comes to what business studies in the final examination, and even in the prelim you are going to get this question. I hope you are listening very well. 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030 matriculants, please make sure that you listen intensively in this video and focus so that you can get what is needed in your final examination. I will give you the business sectors today and their environment, which is their control, their market, and so forth and so on. Then I will also do some few examples when it comes to what business primary sector and secondary sector and tertiary sector. Maybe you are lost to what I am talking about, but let me just give you the definitions of the terms. We have the terms that we have to know. So let me just give you the definitions before we go so far. Look at your screen right now and see what I am talking about. We have terms and definition. What is business sector? Let us hear the definition of what business sector. A business sector is a subdivision upset of the economic activities, e.g. primary, secondary and tertiary. As I explained that we have what business sectors. So business sectors, when you see the word business sector, you must always in your mind make sure that what comes in your mind, it comes what primary, secondary and tertiary sector, which is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Always whenever you go to your final examination and say give two primary sectors, you write, give two sectors, you will write what? Primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. You get your full 6 marks if it's the split marks. I hope you are following. Whenever you see the word business sectors, you think of what? Primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Look at your screen and give you the other definition. Primary sector. This sector deals with extraction of raw materials and natural resources. Now that's the definition of what primary sector. It deals with what? It deals with something that is going to be produced. That's what a primary, that's where they do what? They start doing a thing. Let's say we are in a company of building tables. So first of all, when we are in the primary sector, we have to bring what? The resources or the materials, which is we have to bring what? The woods or the trees. That's what primary sector deals with. Then let's move forward. Look at your screen. Secondary sector. This sector processes raw materials into finished goods. When we look at secondary sector, remember at primary sector we spoke about what? Trees or the woods of building what? The tables. When it comes to secondary sector, they manufacture, they do what? They build the tables. Now after building the tables, where does it go? We go to what? A tertiary sector. So which is this thing? It's a chain. It's the same thing. First of all, primary sector bring what? The resources. Secondary sector deal with the resources. It manufacture, it produce. Then let us hear what does the tertiary sector do. Tertiary sector. This sector renders service to other businesses or provide auxiliary services. So when we go to tertiary sector, they do what? They deal with transportation. Remember, primary sector, they do what? They bring the resources that they will be used to produce in what? Secondary sector. After secondary sector, we need what? The tertiary sector. That one will be dealing with delivering the product to what? To the businesses. which is when you see the word tertiary sector, you are simply talking about what? Transportation. How are they going to deliver the goods that were made by what? Secondary sector. And secondary sector got the goods from who? The primary sector. When you see the word primary sector, or they will say coat, from or they will say coat. Let's look at the screen. Now we move to what? Business environment. After business environment, we will go to what? Micro environment. After micro environment, we will go to market environment. And we will also go to what? Macro environment. Then the last one that we will be dealing with is the extent control. Extent of control. So what's happening in the business environment? All the internal and external factors that affect the functioning of a business, e.g. micro, market, and macro environment. So whereby when we speak about business environment, it also divided into three. Remember, we first spoke about what? Business we spoke about what? Business sectors. Business sectors is divided into how many? Three. We have primary, we have secondary, we have tertiary. Same applies to what? Business environment. We have what? Micro. We have micro. Then we have market. Then we have what? Macro. So we have to know how do they differ and how do they operate. So we have to know their control and where do they deal. So look at your notes right now so that I can give you the definition of what? Micro. Micro environment. This environment is the business itself. It consists all the three elements inside the business. So whereby when we speak about micro, we are speaking about what? The business itself. It's within what? The business, and consists the three of them. That means for the market to be there, they were supposed to be what? Micro. It's impossible to have market without having what? Micro. It is impossible to have what? Macro without having what? Micro. So that means micro is the key hold of what? Market and macro. That means without micro, there is no what? Market and macro. Number two, look at the screen. We move to what? Market environment. This environment exists immediately outside the business. When we speak about market, we are speaking about what? Outside the business. It can be the competitors, people who are also running the business out there, customers. That's what? The market. And we have to know the control. When it comes to what? Micro, the business have what? Full control. When it comes to market, the business have what? Less control or limited control. Now we go what? We go to macro environment. We have to know the control, and we have to know how does macro operate, or how does the business operate in macro. Look at your screen. Macro environment. This environment exists outside the micro and the market environment. That means when we speak about macro, exists out of what? Micro and market. That means macro does not control market and what? And micro. It exists outside micro market. That means the business have what? less control or limited, the business does not have control at all when it comes to what? Macro, because it outside the competitor. It's something that happens automatically and the business does not have what? Control over it. For instance, let's say there will be inflation rate. The business does not have a control. It cannot stop the inflation rate. The inflations, it grows where? In the macro. Now we go to what? The extent of control. We have to know what is an extent of control. The amount on influence that a business has on the business environment. When we speak about the extent of control, we speak about what? The amount of the influence that the business have in the environment. Remember, in micro, the business have what? Full control. In market, the business have what? Less control or limited control. And then when we go to macro, the business does not have any control. So we have three types of different business sectors. As I explained, we have what? Three types of different business sectors. Number one, we have primary sector. I will give you the examples of primary sector. Number two, we have what? Secondary sector. Number three, we have what? Tertiary sector. We only have three of business sectors. And then we will have the challenges. After the challenges, we have to know where do they operate, how do they those challenges operate in the business, and the control that they have over those challenges. Number one, look at your screen. Primary sector. This sector deals with extraction of raw materials and natural resources. As I explained before, that they deal with what? Something that it is needed to be manufactured. Then we move to number two. Natural resources which are not man-made, like coal, gold, fish, and livestock, are extracted from this sector. That means they don't need something that is what? Man-made. They need something that is man-made. Number three. Now I'm giving you what? The examples. Examples of the primary sector industrial. It's mining, fishing, agriculture, and forest, and farming. Those are the examples. Those are the examples. Those are the examples that are in the primary sector. Are the examples that they are in what? The primary sector. Now we go to what? Secondary sector. What is secondary sector? I will also explain secondary sector as I did to what? Primary sector. Look at your screen. This business sector is responsible for changing the raw materials acquired from what? The primary sector into useful product, which is secondary sector. It is what? Useful of changing what? The product that are occupied, which is they are from what? Primary sector to what? To a good that can be used. I hope you are not getting lost. You are understanding. So the examples of what? Secondary sector industrial. It's what? Manufacturing. They manufacture. Clothing. They make clothes. Insurance. Tourism. Transportation. I made the mistake. Let me just start it afresh. Manufacturing. Clothing. Good processing. Building. Construction. Those are the things that they are found where? In the secondary sector. Secondary factor. Let me just repeat it for you. It's manufacturing, clothing, food, processing, which is they can be making food, they can be making clothing, you understand? Manufacturing food, manufacturing clothing, manufacturing, building. Let's say in primary sector, they just brought a sand. That means in secondary sector, they have to take that sand and make bricks. That's what we are simply talking about. Now we move to the last one, tertiary sector. We have to know what happens in the tertiary sector. This sector renders the service to the public and the businesses. That means, remember, in secondary sector, they build something, they produced something that must be used. Then tertiary sector have to render the service to what? To public or the business, which is include service from transport, banking, legally and healthy. Which is this one. They distribute banking, insurance, tourism, transportation, entertainment, retail, and legal services. Those are what the examples of what tertiary sector. Now we go to the challenges when it comes to what primary sector. What are the challenges in the primary sector? Number one, difficult employees or high rate of of employees who become what? Absent. Those are the challenges in what? Micro. In micro. Then, does it have, how much control does it have? It has full control over what? Difficult employees or employees who have what? High rate of being absent in the workplace, lack of visions and missions, lack of adequate management skills, union strikes, and go slow. Those are the things that happen usually in the micro, within the business, and they have what? Full control. Number two, competition. Remember, when I speak about competition, I spoke about what? Secondary, which is they may be businesses that are opened next to your business. Though those ones, they are competition, they have what? Less control, which is shortage of supply. It's something that is what? Market, because there are people who have to come and support what? The micro. So which is, it is what? It is secondary, which is, it can be social cultural factors, and then demographic and psychographics, which is market environment, and it has what? Limited control or less control. Now we go to the last one, the challenges of what? Of macro environment. When we come to macro environment, it also has what? Their own challenges. Changes in income level, contemporary legislation, labor restriction, political changes, interest rates, social economic issues, HIV and AIDS, globalization, and international challenges. That happens what? Macro. And they have what? No control. The business does not have control over what? Macro. So now you will only be able to do the following. You will be able to do the following. I want you to focus. Quote business challenges from the scenario. That's what you will be able to do. That's what they will. There is no need of cracking your head. They will give you a scenario whereby you have to do what? Quote the business challenges from the scenario. They will give you a scenario. Let's say the scenario, it says Hector's company has a problem of the employees who do not want cooperate, which is, that's what the problem or the challenge that is in the business. You will quote that thing exactly the way it is in your scenario. Then you have to state, is this thing micro, market, or macro? Obviously, it's within the business. It's what? Micro. Does the business have control? Yes, it has what? Full control. You get your 6 marks. Number 2 that you will need to do, classify these challenges according to what? To the business environment. Is what I have just explained. The challenge must be linked to the what? The business environment. That's what I also explained, that it must be linked to what? Business environment. You have to say whether does this business fall under market, micro or macro. Then state the extent of control of businesses have over each business environment. That's what I have explained, that you have to quote whether the business has full control or a less control over the challenge. Now we are done with that thing. So you have, okay, for an example, let me just give you an example. Let's say Hector's company, it buys material from TL company, but sometimes they don't deliver in time. That's what? Market. Does the business have what? Full control? No, it has what? Less control or limited control. That's what we are simply talking about. This thing is very easy and they love to ask it a lot in your final examination. And believe me, you are going to get it in your final examination. Let me just give you an examples. Let me just show the scenario on the screen so that you can see what I am talking about. This is what the example of business in the primary sector. The question will come saying, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follows. Duga Mines, DM. Duga Mines specializes in what? In the extraction of platinum. Don't forget that specializes in extraction of platinum is what? That word of extraction, it's primary sector. Their suppliers of mining equipment have increased their price by more than 20%. The supervisor does not have what? A good working relationship with his employee. The supervisor does not have what? A good working relationship with what? His employees. That's what? Within the business. That's micro. DM can no longer export their products due to the increase in the exchange of rate. That's what? External. Now we are speaking about what? A macro. They don't have control over that one. Then the supplier of mining equipment have increased their price by 20%. That's what? Market. Then let's say your question says, you need to identify the business sector in which Duga operates and motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. And motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario. I hope you are also trying to think, but let me just give you the answer. Duga Mines is operating in primary sector because the businesses specialize in what? The extraction of mines. I have already gave you this answer. I've already gave you the answer that I have just gave you now. Now we move forward. Look at your screen. You need to quote challenges from the above scenario. Classify each challenge according to the business environment and state the extent of control DM has over each business environment. Now we have to quote what? The challenges. What are the challenges? Remember, their suppliers of mining equipment have increased their price by what? More than 20%. That's what a challenge that they are facing. So you have to know where does that challenge falls under. It falls under what? Market, because it's outside the business. It's market. Then how much control does it have? It has less control or limited control. The second challenge that I saw when I was reading the scenario is that the supervisor does not have what? A good working relationship with his employees. That's what micro, it's within the business. Then does the business have full control or limited control or no control? It has what? It has what? Full control, because the supervisor does not have what? The good working relationship with the employees. That's what within the business. That's what micro. Number 3, the challenge number 3 that I've saw already, it's that DM can no longer export their products due to what? Due to an increase in the exchange rate. That's what macro, M-A-C-R-O, macro, which is they do not have what? They do not have control at all. So let me just give you the second example so that you can be able to answer. Now we were dealing with what? The primary sector. Now we will be dealing with what? The secondary sector. Look at your screen so that I can show the scenario. Read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Super Energy Enterprise, SEE. Super Energy Enterprise product maize meal and instant soft porridge. They buy their raw material from what? From Elevate Maize Farm, which is out of stock sometimes. By you reading this, you must see that, okay, that's a challenge. And they buy it where? They buy their raw material from what? Elevate Maize Farm, which is out of stock sometimes. That's a challenge. And where is that thing? Is market. That's market. SEE, employees are regularly absent from work. That's what? Micro, within the business, which is they have what? Full control. Like when you read the scenario, you must see what I am talking about. The local government has instructed the management of SEE to register their product with the South African Bureau from Standards. That's what? Externally, they don't have what? Control over that. That means it is what? Macro. Now let us look at the challenges that they have. I'm sure you have already saw 3 challenges. There are 3 challenges in this scenario, and we have to know their business environment. When we speak about business environment, we are speaking about micro, market, and macro. Challenge number 1, C employees are regularly absent from work. What environment is that one? Micro. It's in the business. Challenge number 2, they buy their raw material from Elevate Maize Farm, which is out of stock sometimes. That's a challenge. Where? In the market. They have what? Limited control or less control. The last challenge, the local government has instructed the management of SEE to register their product with the South African Bureau of Standards. That's what? Macro. They do not do what? They do not have a control at all. That's what we are talking about when we talk about what? The business sectors and their environment. This question, obvious. You are going to get it in your final examination. There's no way that you are not going to get it. Now let me give you what? The examples of business in the tertiary. Look at your screen so that you can see the scenario. Read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Timothy Legal Service, TLS. Timothy Legal Service is situated at the Pretoria CBD. TLS assistant lawyers are not trained to handle what? Criminal cases. That's what? Internally. That's micro, within the business. And they have what? Full control over that. Another law firm, Mbuzi, has set up the law practices in the same office block as TLS. That's what? The competitor, which is market. TLS can no longer pay their bank loan due to what? The increase of instant rate. That means that is what? Is the macro. Number 1, Name the business sector in which TLS is operating. Motivate your answer by quoting from the scenario above. They operate where? That's tertiary. Number 2, the motivation. Timothy Legal Service TLS is situated at what? Pitori CBD. Then identify 3 challenges for TLS business and classify each challenge according to the what business environment. State the extent of control TLS has over each business environment. Number 1, we have the challenges. Number 2, we have what business environment. Number 3, we have extent of control. What are the challenges? TLS assistant lawyers are not trained to handle criminal cases. That's what micro within the business, and they have what full control. Number 2, another law firm, Mbuzi Inch, has set up a law practices in the same office block as TLS. That's what market environment, they have what less control or limited control. Number 3, TLS can no longer serve their bank loan due to an increase in the interest rate. That's what macro environment. They have what? No control over that one. So the last thing that you may be asked, that I feel like I can give you, you may sometimes be asked to name the business environment and explain the extent of control businesses have over each business environment. E.g., you have to name what business environment and the extent of what control. Number 1, let's say you name micro. Okay, you may be asked to name all of them. Name what business environment and the extent of the control. You will first draw your table and then you will say micro, full control. You get your 4 marks. Then you say market environment and then you say less control. You get your 4 marks. Then you say macro and then you say no control. You get what? Your 4 marks. 2-2. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and go and pass your final examination with distinctions.